hush comes over the room. It gets echoed too. Welcome to Unity of Mesa. Welcome into spiritual community. Welcome into a space that knows you. Well, it knows what you are. Doesn't necessarily know who you are. But we do know what you are. You are a beloved expression of God. You are here for a holy purpose. And regardless of whether you're in the room or watching online, you are in the right place at the right time, right now. Unity is a worldwide spiritual movement that builds consciousness, a consciousness that comes right from the heart of God, from love, joy, and peace. And as we consciously participate in the building of that consciousness, we begin to express more of that love, that joy, and that peace that blesses the world. Let's begin with a moment of prayer. Knowing that there's only one presence and one power active in the universe and in our lives, God the good, omnipotence. Allowing that truth to reverberate through every fiber of your being. Knowing that with each breath, we are reminded of not only our oneness with God, but our oneness with all of life, with the living, breathing planet Earth, with the living, breathing creatures upon it, in the air, in the sea, and on the land. For this oneness, for this connectivity, for this commitment to expand our experience of joy, love, and peace, we say thank you, God, and amen. All right, 2 announcements for you today.
The first one is,
Feed My Starving Children. Please sign up. It's a wonderful opportunity to come together. There's about 25 of us that go to a highly organized, well-oiled machine kind of production where we package meals for children all over the world. It's more fun than you can think of. You scoop, you measure, you push, you scoop, you measure, and you get to be with other Unity people.
yes, or you package and then you get to find your gift of imperfection. It was so much fun.
That doesn't weigh, right?
Or there's too many or too few. Sue King is here. Would you stand, please, so people can see you? If you have any questions, she is the woman to talk to.
And when you sign up, you're actually committing to going. I know that that's hard for Unity people to say, yes, I really will be there, but we are counting on you to be a part of our team, and we're so grateful that we have this opportunity to play with you together.
And our second announcement?
And our second announcement is, you could, if you really, really wanted to, bring more school supplies this week, but then we're packaging them up and we're calling Sun Valley High School, which is across the street, to come and pick up what you so generously shared, and they're going to be positively amazed at all the index cards, the Sharpies, the backpacks, the notebooks, all of those beautiful school supplies that you brought in, so thank you for that.
That's great. And we're inviting you to stand as you are able, to sing with us. Feel free to dance if you want to dance with us.
We're going to release and let go all inhibitions.
I am free.
those of you who are dancing here in the room, those of you who, are dancing and watching online. Every month, the last Sunday of the month, Unity of Mesa takes the opportunity to look around the world and highlight a few holidays and holy days and special days to celebrate. The month of August, on August 1st, a very ancient tradition in the British Isles area, it's called Llamas, and traditionally it was a celebration of the first harvest, which then people would bake bread and take it to church. So they would have a loaf mass, right? So, okay. Assumption of the Blessed Mary is August 15th. In ancient times, the Assumption of Mary was celebrated with bonfires and nighttime gatherings. The Blessed Mary in the Catholic tradition is often shown in blue. Blue represents the color of heaven. And then she's also often shown with a lily, which stands for divinity or purity. So if you come from a Catholic tradition, you may have been aware, but if you didn't come from a Catholic tradition, now you know a few more fun facts. Starting August 23rd in Guadalajara, Mexico, is the Mariachi Festival. It is a blowout beyond imagination with mariachi music, and they have competitions, and it's a really phenomenal time to celebrate culture. On August 30th is Raksha Bandhan, which is a Hindu celebration that honors brothers and sisters. So it's an opportunity to give this traditional style bracelet. That's the one you see right there at the bottom with the pearls. You can, either men or women, you give the bracelet and you go, see, my brother loves me, or see, my sister loves me. I've got this bracelet. Chocolate is also okay. Ulabana is a widely celebrated holy time in the Buddhist tradition. It's a time of year where it's believed that the gates of hell are open, and those spirits, those ancestors that have been in hell, are free to roam the earth. Now, the people who are living want to do two things. One, they want to feed them, because if they're in hell, it means they've been forgotten by their descendants and they haven't been fed. So they put out offerings of food. And the other thing they do is they light candles in lotus lanterns and set them on the water so that then their souls will be guided to heaven. So it's a very holy time that in the Buddhist tradition. There are two historic birthdays. Do you know what these two men have in common? They're both Armstrongs. So Louis Armstrong, it was fundamental in the whole development of jazz. He lived through and led 3 different movements in the jazz music tradition. Do you know what some of his songs are? What a Wonderful World is probably the most popular, and When You're Smiling. Oh, does anybody know what his nicknames were? Sag. Ooh, I thought that would be a hard one. Okay. Neil Armstrong was the first human being that we know of to land on the moon. And he was this brilliant scientist, brilliant aerospace. Anyway, he was absolutely brilliant. He said when he landed on the moon, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Do you know what he really meant to say? One small step for a man. He was really mad. He went back, he said, I said a man, I said a man, I said a man, listened to recordings for hours, and then finally he said, I guess I blew my first line on the moon. The other bit of trivia about him, do you know what state he was born in? Ohio. All right, on the 4th, it is National Water Balloon Day. For our heat, I think that's appropriate. The 8th is International Cat Day. The 13th is Left-Handers Day. How many left-handers? Yay for left. I'm not, but yay for you. Okay, and the 22nd is Tooth Fairy Day. So if you believe, the Tooth Fairy will come and visit. All right, I'm now going to invite Julie Treglone, our youth director, and Katie to come and give our affirmation. Look beautiful today, Katie.
All right, happy to be here with Miss Katie. She's always eager to lead our affirmation. We're doing a creative activity soon over in the annex with the youth, and so our affirmation today is:
I am a creative being and I bless the world with my creative gifts. Say it with me.
I am a creative being and I bless the world with my creative gifts.
Thanks, Katie. So let's say our blessing of our children before we go out for our activity.
Children, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ you are. Have fun painting, and we will be able to see the fruits of their labor, the painted rocks, probably starting next week. And thank you, my wives, for being their guest artist leader today. It's exciting to have so many kids. I asked for compassion, and today I have known it. It is not cutting off the sufferer with blind reassurance. It is not urging laughter when there are only tears. It is not wanting to be at the end when the traveler is only at the beginning. It is open arms, open heart, open ears to hear, open embrace for the grieving soul. We are all in desperate need of compassion for ourselves and for the world. This morning, in the falling rain and the emptiness of not enough, I have understood the vision. I asked for compassion, and today I have been given the gift.
Sideways and under on a magic carpet.
you and me.
And just play over and over and over. So just accept it. Because really, when you do that, you're opening up to a whole new world. And are you ready for that? That's the question. Yes, yes. One person here is. Two persons. Can I have a drink? Can I have a drink? Have you ever worried about whether or not somebody thinks you're okay? Have you ever wondered if somebody likes you? A sinister laugh. Have you ever wondered if somebody likes you? Have you ever wondered if people approve of you? I'm getting head nods. That can be a part of life. We're talking about Brene Brown's Gifts of Imperfection again today. That idea, am I good enough? Do you like me? Do you approve of me? Those kinds of questions are what Brene Brown calls perfectionism. And so Reverend Mindy started last week with talking about the difference between perfectionism and being perfect, which is what we talk about in unity, is that we are perfect, but we have within us the spiritual pattern for perfection. And the universal teacher Jesus says, be perfect as God is perfect. We are created in the image and likeness of God. We talk about this regularly. The second unity principle, that we are created in original virtue, is that idea of the pattern of perfection. So you have within you that pattern. I have within me that pattern. We all have within me that pattern. But what we don't always realize is that when we have that idea, am I good enough, that we've actually stepped away from that pattern. It's still there, but we're on the edges of it. And all we have to do is move back into the idea and alignment of being in our divine nature. We are already worthy. The gifts of imperfection, Brene Brown talks about wholehearted living is about engaging in our lives from a place of worthiness. So what she's really inviting us into is to stand in that pattern of perfection that is already within us. It's the 12 powers, as Charles Fillmore called them. I like the idea of the capacities of God. That's my terminology. Some people call them our 12 gifts. We have them. We have them in full capacity already. The question is, are we living them and are we expressing them? We are the idea of God in expression. Another way to put this is we are God in action. So when we go to the grocery store and somebody is standing exactly where we want to be, what do? Can we call forth our spiritual intelligence? Can we call forth our internal patience? And can we wait? Can we just take a breath and wait? Or do we need to push them out of the way and be all grumpy because somebody got in our way? Because sometimes people, I'm probably one of those, stand there for a few moments trying to decide, is it this or this? Is it that or that? What do I really want? And then sometimes I want to read the label, so that takes even more time. And I'm very grateful for the people who are willing to wait and wait patiently. And I usually turn around and say, thank you for waiting on me. I was trying to make a decision. That's all it was. I was trying to make a decision. And I wasn't trying to hold them up. I wasn't trying to slow them down. See, we view the world from our consciousness, and we live the principles that unity teaches from our level of understanding. So the greater our understanding, the more opportunity we have to live from that pattern of perfection. And I believe that's what Brene Brown is inviting us into, to live from our worthiness. I would call that living from our divinity. But she's a researcher in a university, and that probably wouldn't work. That would be way too woo-woo for most social workers and psychologists that I know of. But the world is changing. So living from that worthiness and living from our own divinity. Letty and Randolph Schmeling say, the mind has made a habit of dwelling on the imperfections of life. Do you recognize yourself in that? The mind, our mind, has made a habit of dwelling on the imperfections of life. In order to make the world better, it's necessary to change the habit of the mind so that it begins to dwell more and more on our divine perfection. That divine perfection that waits for that potential within us to be realized, to be released, to be expressed. Then you can help this potential to come forth. And that's what we're talking about. How do you and I help this potential come forth? Well, you're already doing it. You're right here. And if you're online, you're already doing it. We come together in community to celebrate our divinity. We come in community to celebrate each other. We come in community to celebrate how perfect we are. How perfect we are in this moment. That doesn't mean in another moment we won't be more perfect. It's perfect to have more perfect, but what we will be is hopefully having a greater understanding and then expressing that consciousness in a new way. To be able to open to living more fully in our divinity, so that when we meet each other, whether it's here or somewhere else, the way that we meet each other is heart to heart. Put your hand on your heart for a moment. And think about somebody you love dearly. Heart, and then let your hand come out to heart. Heart to heart, giving that energy. Now I'm going to ask you to do something that's a little bit harder. Put your hand on your heart. Take a breath. And think of somebody that you were challenged by or that you struggle with, that you wonder if they approve of you, that you wonder, are you okay in their eyes? Take a breath, heart to heart. And then bring your hand this time back to your own heart and say, I am enough. I approve of myself. I approve of myself. And take a breath into that. And let that reverberate through every cell of your body. I am enough. Take a breath. And let's say it together. I am enough. And then let's do what we've been teaching you from Christ Unity Temple. There is something radically right about me. Take a breath. There is something radically right about me. So I'm upping the game for you. Not only are we enough, you are enough, I am enough, we are enough, but there is something radically right about us. We are enough. We are radically right. And we can live from that radical rightness if we choose. And it has to be a conscious choice. And it's actually part of that learning how to live Jesus' teaching of be perfect. Be perfect as God is perfect. Principle is perfect. We have that perfection within us. If you want to look at the Message version of the Bible, the Message says, grow up. So it says, grow up. Start living who you were called here to be. Start living that. And you guys are doing it because you're here. Can we do it more? Can we be more expanded in our living? Can we drop that wonder, that curiosity, or that criticism, whichever it is for you, that we're not enough? Can you drop that wonder or that curiosity or that criticism that maybe somebody doesn't like you? Can you drop that? Could it be as easy as just letting it go? It could be when we remember whose and what we are. Charles Fillmore says, there is no imperfection in man and I'm just going to translate this a little bit because he wrote at a time when man would be more acceptable. There is no imperfection in humankind. We are perfect potentiality proving itself. In the course of bringing forth this perfection, there are processes that we must go through. Charles Filmer doesn't look at us as less than perfect. He says our perfection is actually growth. Our perfection shows up as we live more of our divinity today than we lived our divinity 2 weeks ago. He believes that our perfection is not a static idea, but rather a process. It's dynamic. Was I perfect in my interaction with myself when I looked in the mirror and after I got dressed this morning? Hopefully I was a little bit more perfect than yesterday when I got dressed. Hopefully I was able to love myself more because of my experiences yesterday. And hopefully tomorrow my experience will be different. When we start looking at perfection as a process, when we start recognizing and celebrating what we have done instead of looking at what's not working, when we look at what's wrong, we can make a shift and say, oh, look, I'm back in that edge of that pattern of perfection, and now what I want to do is come back into alignment of my divinity and to celebrate my 100% humanness and my 100% divinity. We're not trying to stop our humanness. I'm not trying to anyway. Maybe you are, I don't know. I can't really speak for yourself. But I want to live as humanly as I can while I'm learning how to engage in these divine ideas. I want to be expressing God as much as I can, and I want to be able to see you, to look at you, to think about you, to run into you at the grocery store and see God expressing. And I want to see that in the person who's checking me out, if I'm not using the self-checkout, or the person who comes to help me, because I always mess up. Or sometimes I try to do it in Spanish and I have to get some help. But when we're going through daily life, because this perfectionism is that Brene Brown talks about is really about not being vulnerable. It's about hiding where we feel ashamed of ourselves. And one of the things that I know so clearly about shame is if I'm feeling ashamed about myself, if there's something I'm trying to hide, that is a secret that will make me sick. It is a secret that will make me sick. I really want you to get this. I'm going to say it one more time. Shame and hiding something about myself is a secret that will make me sick. It's a secret that will make you sick. Here's the deal. Make sure that the person that you share what you're feeling ashamed of is worthy of receiving and capable of receiving. And what I mean by worthy is going to be able to see your wholeness, see your divinity, no matter what you share. Take a breath into that one. No matter what you share. This is hard stuff because we've been taught to hide that we're afraid that people won't like us. We've been taught to use masks or personas, and my favorite thing, to try to appear to be different than we are. So maybe you're like me. Perfectionism is all about getting you to like me. Because if you like me, maybe, just maybe, I will like myself. It's like trying to gather an army. If I can get at least 5 people to like me, I must be okay. That's perfectionism. But being in that pattern of perfection is recognizing, wow, it doesn't matter if anyone else likes me. Do I like me? Am I living in my divine nature? Am I experiencing my oneness with the divine? Am I on a spiritual path and recognizing it in a way that I'm growing, that I'm learning, that I'm sharing? Oh, I made a mistake. Oops, I made a mistake. And it's no big deal to make that mistake. It's simply an oops, and we can either say, I'm too sexy for my shirt. I get my finger. I can say, oops, I made a mistake. I can say all kinds of things because it's whatever comes within me that helps me to support, absolutely support, that knowingness of who I am and that willingness to live in that pattern of divine perfection that's already within me, that willingness to express it no matter what anyone else is doing, to make that choice. Brene Brown has some guideposts for how to do this. This is the how-to. Cultivating a resilient spirit. Being able to be resilient, to say, oh wow, that happened. To tune in, to follow my inner guidance, and then to move forward from that. To be resilient, to fall over sometimes and get up. To be able to go, ooh, that didn't work how I wanted it to, but I wonder what good is going to come out of this. To recognize that there really are no mistakes, that there are simply opportunities to see an outcome that is different than I expected. There are simply opportunities to see an outcome that is different than I expected. And then from that, watching what good is going to come from this outcome that I didn't expect. My mentor, Gay Hendricks, when he starts manifesting something, he speaks the word or speaks into his manifestation, and then he says to the universe, cosmos, if you have a better idea, please feel free to drop it in. Please feel free to drop it in so that we're not limiting our good. In our humanness, sometimes we limit our good. In our divinity, we are open to all good, even if in the moment it doesn't look like good. I had an opportunity at one time to move to Corvallis, Oregon, to follow my good partner. Yeah, and she didn't get the job. So it was 3 months later when her ex-husband came and said, I'm moving to Honolulu. You and Nickie and Julia are then kindergartner, can come with us. We can all go to Hawaii together, or you can stay here and we'll divide Julia 6 months and 6 months. That was the deal. Well, if we had been in Corvallis and only been there 3 months, we would not have been able to move to Hawaii. It was that simple. So sometimes when we lay out our plans, we have this idea of how it's supposed to be, and then when it's not that way, we think either we did it wrong or what's matter. Sometimes we go into that place of blaming God if we're not blaming ourselves, because we are taught in this culture to blame. But what if we just stopped, took a breath and said, I wonder what good is going to come out of this? Well, I can tell you what good came out of this for me. I moved to Hawaii, where I had already affirmed that I wanted to live from the time I was 17 years old. Ended up letting that relationship go, going to Unity Church of Hawaii, meeting Mindy the very first time I went, and look where I am now, Unity of Mesa. It all unfolded in perfection. But in that moment of disappointment, which I was actually glad, I don't really want to live in Oregon. Oregon is beautiful, but it's wet and it's cold. I really wanted to go to Hawaii. I had already been holding that vision, but not really sharing it, because sometimes it's best to hold these visions in our own heart. Life unfolded in absolute perfection. And it does. It will and it does when we allow it. And that's our resiliency. Can we say, I wonder what good is going to come out of this? Can we say, wow, that didn't come out like I thought it would, but what's going to happen next? What's next for me? And if you are on this planet, there is something next for you. The next one is gratitude and joy, and we practice this regularly in the spiritual community, and I know from you guys that you practice it regularly also. Gratitude. Gratitude begets gratitude. The more grateful we are, the more gratitude shows up. There's more to be grateful for. So I'm grateful, and more gratitude and more to be grateful for comes to me. I'm feeling grateful, and somebody says something to me that I just feel really grateful for. Or I can look at my life and look at the big things, but I can also look at the little things and be grateful and experiencing joy. Some of you guys know I love French fries. I absolutely love French fries. So one night, Mindy and I were coming home from an event that we had been at, and she said to me, I'm hungry. I said, what would you like? And we landed together on French fries. Of course, you know, I was sort of holding that in consciousness already. So we go and we get French fries. And we're driving home. I was driving, so I took the surface streets back to our home. And we're eating French fries. Mindy's kind enough to hold them up, and we're eating them together, and we're talking, and we're enjoying them. And it was a moment of profound joy. For her, you guys can laugh, but for me, it was profound joy. Here I am, we're having this amazing interaction, having French fries, being in the car together. And I don't know about you guys, but being in the car is often a place of wonderful conversation. It's been that way for me for a long time. And so it was a moment of joy. So 3 weeks later even, I can remember and feel in my heart that moment of joy. When we are in gratitude and we are collecting those moments of joy, it doesn't have to be a huge thing, and it can be, but it can be the most simplest thing. It could be sitting with my feet dangling in the water by the pool. It could be a moment of teaching. It could be a moment of watching somebody else have that aha experience and watch sort of those bricks click in. And there's a new idea. It's that whole new world that we're talking about. And when we're able to cultivate joy, we get to have those experiences regularly. And if you're not having them daily, get your microscope out and look a little closer, because they're available to all of us. And the last one is intuition and faith. Intuition, we come into that through prayer and meditation. We find that listening, that deep listening, and that inner guidance that comes through. And if we do and follow that inner guidance, things go a lot better for us. On, Wednesday, we had that big monsoon, and I'm driving again down the road on surface streets because I didn't want to be on the freeway. And so I'm driving on the surface street, and the voice in my head, which I know to be intuition, says, take a left on Guadalupe. And I didn't do it. So here we are. It's clear in this moment. Here we are. We take the left on Elliott, and coming down the road, there's all this rain and all of this sand. And it was hard to see. And so Mindy said, why don't you turn the wipers on a little bit faster? So the wipers are going as fast as they can. And I'm driving like up here. I mean, it was funny. And I just thought, oh, I didn't listen. It's a moment of not listening. It was a moment of not listening. I could beat myself up for it, and I could go, oh, what a great opportunity. What a wonderful moment to realize when I listen to my intuition that things work out easier for me. They work out easier. But I had to have faith. Faith is spiritual assurance. It's our spiritual assurance that things will work out perfectly when we allow it. But if we're a little bit perfectionistic, which also is a code word for control freak, if we're a little bit that, then we don't allow the flow of life to work out so perfectly, and we get our hands in it. And sometimes it's just a little bit on the other side of perfect, or it's that other kind of perfection that will teach us something also. It's that possibility. It's that following what Charles Fillmore talks about as we are in process. We are learning and celebrating our learning. And sometimes to learn something, we have to unlearn it. Rumi says the highest form of learning is actually unlearning something, whatever that something is for you. If you're interested in all this, I have an affirmation. This is a adaptation of something that Charles Fillmore's granddaughter, Connie Fillmore, wrote. I accept my God-given perfection and release any judgments about past mistakes. This is sometimes the hardest one, you guys. Releasing the judgments about past mistakes. I recognize that I'm growing in wisdom as I live more fully in my divine nature. I seek first the consciousness, another word for kingdom, of God, and I know that I am on the right path. Are you willing to accept your God-given perfection? It's there within you already. Are you willing to embrace it, to step forth, to live in it, to be the expression of your humanity and your divinity that you were called here to be? Are you willing to let go of any judgments or what you think are mistakes? Maybe that mistake led you somewhere that you wouldn't have been, that has created great joy in your life. Are you willing to recognize your wisdom and how you have actually grown in wisdom, that you are wiser today than you were at this time last year? Can you embrace that? Can you celebrate that? Can you share that with each other today in hospitality and talk about, something I learned in life recently is. Something I learned in my life recently is. And share that with each other. Can you seek first the consciousness of God? So when something happens, where do we go first? Have your few minutes of unenlightened ranting and raving. There's nothing wrong with that. We are expression machines in some ways. Let yourself have that so you're not spiritually bypassing the feelings. And then take a breath and celebrate that you have feelings, that you were alive. And that you now can bring that moment of conscious awareness, that moment of choice, that ability to use our thinking to bring forth the good that we are seeking. If you're up for all that, let's say this together. Together?
I accept my God-given perfection and release any judgments about past mistakes. I recognize that I am growing in wisdom as I live more fully in my divine nature daily. I seek first the consciousness of God, and I know that I'm on the right path.
Let's say that last line together.
I seek first the consciousness of God, and I know I am on the right path.
You are on the right path, right here, right now. And let's sing about that, how beautiful you are. We're going to sing it, I am beautiful, you are beautiful, we are beautiful. And we get to, you are beautiful, turn to somebody and look at them and sing that not only are you owning your beauty, but you're sharing your recognition of the Christ within them and talking about, singing to them about their beauty. joy that is. What a gift to be on this process of learning how to live our life as fully as we can, to live in expanded consciousness, to be enough, and to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are radically right, because we were created in the image of and as the likeness of God. Let's take these thoughts into the moments of sacred and holy silence. Between your perfectionism and your pattern of perfection. In our perfectionism, we shrink, we hide, we get smaller. In our pattern of perfection, we expand, we glow, we allow, we learn, we live. We experience greater peace and harmony, greater joy, more aliveness, and our relationships with ourselves, with each other, have an opportunity to expand equally, to grow. We can ask for help. We can say, I don't know, and it's okay. We can be who we are and live authentically, created with a gift that is ours to share as a unique, individualized expression of God. And as we come back to this time and this place and to this room, to this now moment, we bring that distinction and that knowing with us. And we remember that all we ever have to do is touch our hearts. And from our heart to let it flow, because we are the flow of life.
I was looking for a quote from Star Trek, as you all know, but I couldn't find one in the time allotted. So all I got is you do you, boo. We are abundantly blessed here at Unity of Mesa, and we have several ways of supporting our spiritual community. Your ushers are going to come and pass around the baskets, and then you can text to give, and you can set that up to just come out whenever you need it to. You can give online on the unityofmesa.org website. There's the Vanco app. You can pop a check in good old-fashioned snail mail, and you can do it in person if you don't have a check or cash and you want to do that. You can do pocket change, or you can visit the bookstore and make a gift on the debit card, credit card, what have you. So let's take our gifts in our hands and our hearts and repeat the blessing with me.
Divine love flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is.
And we give thanks for the gifts, and especially the givers.
come forward. Thank you, Tristan. Thank you, Kyle. I'm counting the Sundays. Kyle is going to go to Northern Arizona University, and so is Tristan, and we're very happy for them. If you turn around, thank you. We're going to bless your generosity together by saying, we are one with the opulence of God. We are now in the flow of infinite abundance, and we give thanks for the prosperity that is ours by divine right. So yes, thank you, Tristan. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, ushers. Thank you, ushers. Thank you, volunteers in the kitchen. Thank you, volunteers in the bookstore. Thank you for being here. Thank you for those of you who brought hospitality, generosity to share. Thank you to the people who have donated school supplies. Thank you to Mike Wise and the children next door. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see those rocks. You're amazing. You're beautiful. If you need prayer support in remembering your perfection, your spiritual pattern for perfection, and the outworking of which is just a process. We have chaplains available to hold you in prayer. I'm going to ask our chaplains to stand. We've got Delane, we've got Audrey, and we've got Jim Rice to pray with you today. You are never alone. Unity of Mesa is with you always.
And I invite you to celebrate the process of your life unfolding in divine perfection. And celebrate yourself as often as you can this week. And talk to each other about how beautiful, how powerful, how wonderful, how alive you are as you engage in hospitality. And have the best week ever.
And if you're watching online and you want to reach out and be reminded of your power and your beauty, Rev Nickie at unityofmesa.org, Rev Mindy at unityofmesa.org, and we'd be happy to connect. Follow your mind. Follow your intuition. You can really sing it. Just like